Hey guys, so a lot of you were asking about our setup for the game Tower Ball that I posted about, and so I wanted to make a quick video to show you how we build our Tower Ball set and also how gameplay goes. So check this out, I hope it helps. If you have more questions, just shoot a comment down and I'll try to answer it the best way that I can. So let's get started first with how do we build our Tower Ball setup. The supplies are pretty simple. You need 10 feet of PVC pipe. This can be whatever diameter you want. I suggest going 2 inches or bigger. For this video, I'm using a 2-inch by 10-foot pipe. Next, you need a tether ball. This one we found on Amazon for about $11. The next thing you need is a dowel rod. This isn't vital, but it sure does help the setup of the game. The last thing that you need is a toilet flange that fits on the end of your pipe. Because we're using a 2-inch pipe, we're using a 2-inch by 4-inch toilet flange here. And that is all that you need for your setup for a Tower Ball. The first step of your setup is to secure the flange to the end of your pipe. Once you have that secured on there tightly, you move to the next step, which is putting a hole about halfway down the pipe using a hole saw. If you have no idea what a hole saw is, they attach to the end of your drill and look like this. So about halfway down the pipe, we need to put the hole. I make sure to put a hole big enough that it's going to be easy to find my rope when I feed it through. So the next step is to feed the rope off the tether ball through the pipe from the flange end down. Feed the rope down the pipe from the flange end first and pull the rope out the hole that you drilled in the side of the pipe. After that, we only have one step left, and that is the dowel. We use this simply so that when the ball is knocked off, the rope doesn't get pulled all the way back through the pipe. The dowel is tied to the end of the rope to stop it from being able to fit back through the hole that you drilled in the side. And that is the final step of the build for Tower Ball. Now, to secure it into the ground, we found a pretty simple solution. Using a sledgehammer, we put 4 pieces of rebar into the ground just a few feet. And then in a tight grouping, we slip them inside the bottom end of the pipe, and the pipe is standing up. That worked really well for us. Even with some wind going, the pipes weren't moving hardly at all. That's it for setup. I hope this helps, but let's move on to gameplay. Let's learn how Tower Ball is played. You need a midfield line and 2 defensive zones with the poles in the middle. The poles are represented by the dots inside the defensive zones. Let me explain how the defensive zones work. Let's say that Team X is over here. The zone that they are by is their defensive zone. They are trying to stop Team O, who is on the other end of the field, from scoring on their goal. Team X is allowed to be inside their own defensive zone. They are allowed to set up anywhere inside that zone or outside that zone for their defensive position. For our group, we also allow them to steady the pole when it's hit. So let's say Team O takes a shot on goal. They hit the pole and the ball hasn't fallen off yet, but the pole is starting to shake. One of the defensive players from Team X can grab the pole to stop it from shaking. This is a dangerous move because just as often as it stops the ball from falling off, it also causes the ball to fall off, giving a point to the other team. Let's start with Team X on defense. They're going to kick off the ball first. Any of their players are allowed to kick off, and they can punt, pass, kick, do whatever they want to get the ball down the field. If by random chance they're able to knock the ball off the pole in Team O's zone on the kickoff, they score 5 points. Every other score is worth only 1 point, but if you score on the kickoff, it's worth 5. Let's say Team X does not score on the kickoff, but instead just makes a successful kickoff to Team O. The player in possession of the ball on Team O is allowed to run anywhere they want. Their team can block for them, they can set up a play before the kickoff is received, they can do whatever they want to get down the field. Let's say that the receiving player followed 2 of his players down the field who were blocking for him. He makes it almost to midfield, but is tagged by one of his opponents. At that moment, the player with the ball who has been tagged has to stop where they're at. They are no longer allowed to run, and they are not allowed to shoot. The only option they have is to pass the ball to somebody else on their team. They can hand the ball off or throw the ball to a teammate. Let's say he had a teammate open downfield, so he passed the ball. He made what looked like a perfect throw, but his teammate couldn't catch it. An incomplete pass is an automatic turnover, which would mean that Team X would take possession of the ball where it lays. Let's rewind a second and say that he actually caught it. Good job, little O-man. Then this player decided to take a shot on goal. He doesn't even come close, but one of his teammates has made their way up the field. He catches the ball on the opposite side, and then decides to take his own shot on goal. He hits the tower and knocks the ball right off the top, scoring for his team a point. At this point, Team O has to kick off, but instead of returning to where they started with that defensive zone, the teams switch sides of the field. We do this here in Nebraska because we often have wind, and it makes it more fair that each team has to face into the wind every once in a while. So, what we call this is the losers walk rule. This may be a little harsh sounding for your group to call them losers and send them down the field, but our group, they don't care. So that puts Team O down here on the side where they scored, and Team X over here where they're set to receive. Then play continues as normal. A few things to note. On a kickoff, teams can set up anywhere that they would like on their side of the field. After the ball is kicked, thrown, punted, yeeted, whatever you want to call it, down the field, the team can then cross midfield and set up whatever play they have designed. There are no onside kicks. If a player with the ball steps out of bounds on any side or behind the goals, that is an automatic turnover, and the other team takes the ball at that sideline where they stepped out.
If any player on offense steps into the defensive zone for the other team, it is an automatic turnover, even if that player was not carrying the ball. I hope that this helps explain the game to you. I'm sorry I couldn't do a video outside, but it is raining and is supposed to be all week long here. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it for you. Thanks guys. Hope you have a lot of fun with this one.